guys? Welcome back, Undefeated Locals. It's your boys, Marvin and Edgar here. You guys already know what we're here to talk about. We got some news, right?
Yeah, so they released their entire organized play season, all of the information regarding formats and rule changes and how it's kind of gonna flow out. We didn't get a lot of the details about what's going to be happening at said events, but
Yeah. Not hearing about pricing was like a huge blow for sure.
yeah, especially for some of our community, right?
Yeah.
Um, but the big things that we want to go over, their document wasn't the best laid out.
Yeah, it's like UVS games, y'all structured that document horribly. Your first realization of that should have been the need for a table of contents in the beginning of the article. That should never be a thing that you have to have. Pretty nuts that you did.
And it jumped around a lot, right? Like, so you start reading it, and you get to one point, and the point's not explained until way down deep in the article.
Yeah,
So what happened was a lot of our community skimmed it and got a lot of mixed. Yeah,
misinformation. Yeah. Like a lot of people still don't really entirely understand SP versus CP. They think some of it's pointless when it's not. So we're here to like really walk you guys through bit by bit. We're not going to go down the article entirely. We will show you guys the article on the screen in front of you as we go through the important parts here. Getting into it, right into that SP versus CP, seasonal points versus
championship points.
championship points. What is this system actually doing for us, Edgar?
So at our local events and at our webcam regionals now, we'll be gaining seasonal points. Seasonal points last throughout the season. You need two of them minimum to be able to
Get into
register
a
for
major
a major
regional.
regional. Um, Easy enough for most players, slightly less for others, but we'll get into that. And then at the end of a season, all of the CP you have earned converts into championship points, which carry you through to the worlds at the end of the year, or at the beginning of the next year, rather.
Yeah, so the best way to look at SP right now in each season is that it's just to qualify for major regionals, right?
Yeah,
Best way to look at it for like the casual player is that it's just there to qualify for major regionals. Everything you end up with after your two is the gravy towards championship points.
yeah. So you play your local qualifiers, you play the regional webcam, you get your two SP, you can go to your major. Um, Therein lies a few problems.
Yeah. With championship points determining your standing for worlds, 1 point at a time can actually really end up mattering, right?
Yeah,
A single point above the next guy, above your guy locally that couldn't make it to all two of the events per season, all of your local championship series events, you're really ahead of a lot of people.
yeah, and like I get that UVS Games wants this to help you grow your community, but so many people that we've talked to, especially within our Discord, we have a huge community of players who just have nowhere to play.
Yeah, 100%.
Um,
There is so many people on Discord talking that they do not have a local scene whatsoever. We have UVS Games employees positively responding to them, right? This is a good thing. We do have UVS Games employees responding to these individuals, telling them to contact the community email address to help them bring up a local. But that is not a solution for this year, right?
yeah,
There's no
absolutely.
shot that you will contact UVS Games and then have a four-player local scene for this year's competitive
Yeah,
season. That's just unrealistic.
and especially again, it's feast or famine, right?
Yeah,
Um, some people have nothing. They'll go to their webcam event. They won't get enough points. You have to do well at these webcam events in order to qualify for the major regional.
absolutely.
Um,
Yeah. To in order to qualify, we have to for you not having an LG. If for those of you that don't have a local game store and that also don't understand how this works, For you to be able to go to nationals, you have to top 32 both events,
Yeah,
right?
both webcam events.
Minimum. That is
Hmm.
what you have to do. And that is only if these both of these webcam events are what, 257
Yeah,
players?
yeah,
Yeah, something like that.
yeah,
You have to have a very high amount of players in these events to be able to earn enough CP. It is impossible for you to earn enough SP for major regionals. If you do not have a local, you will not go to these
yeah.
events.
And there's kind of a back and forth problem here that UVS Games hasn't realized. If the first webcam regional is going to pop off, it's going to be a huge number of players,
Absolutely, yeah, it always
and
is.
then every player that didn't top 32 is not going to care to go to the second one.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, 100%. If you don't have a local game store and you did not top 32 the event, there's actually no point in playing the next one. There's no point in playing. There's not even a point in playing your. Yeah. There. You just stop playing the game, which is insane. That is the opposite of where we want to be right now. A huge reason that we probably shouldn't have locked major regionals behind this
Yeah,
thing, right?
yeah. Major regional should still be open
Yeah,
to play.
100%. You're
Um,
not that big. You're not a big enough card game yet. We're just not.
yeah.
Not enough people play this game to be locking regional events.
To be functional, you would need two webcam events a season to allow your players that don't have regional or locals and won't be able to build one, mind you. Like some of these places, some of these people aren't going to, even with assistance, aren't going to be able to build their locals.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and then on the other end of the spectrum, you have people like us, like Las Vegas, like Rochester, who have several stores that they can go to.
Yeah,
And will be going to, and will always be 17 plus players for all of their events. So you'll have some of these players will be going to their local qualifiers. They'll be going to 6, 7, 8 qualifiers a season.
yeah, earning 6 points for every single one, plus their championship series, which a win nets you 10 SP, so 10
Yeah,
CP. That brings us to our next point. With more locals, you do have a direct advantage,
yeah,
which is again not where we want to be in such a small card game. We're blessed enough to have two ourselves, right?
yeah,
We have two LGSs in the area that consistently run events that will be accepted into this program. They will get their championship series, they will get two qualifiers every season. But like you mentioned, that's still not Rochester numbers.
yeah,
Like that's not Florida. Florida has even Rochester, you've got what is it, Millennium Games, you've got Rochester, there's a third store that like Lenoco plays at. Like there's a ton of stores within like probably a couple hours of each other. That if you're a competitive player, you're more than willing to like bank the travel on, right?
yeah,
Sacramento has three stores, I want to say, minimum that they all play at.
yeah, yeah. So that creates a strange imbalance, and
It sure does.
that's not what we want to see our worlds. Our worlds isn't the people that could attend the most LGSs
Yeah,
that should be the
absolutely.
best players, right?
100%.
And someone in, the middle of Minnesota might have
Yeah.
a 4 hour drive to their first local game store.
Yep,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, so I love the point system, right? I do want to state that I truly believe that this point system is a positive thing had we thought about these issues. Going into the next issue, something that Edgar and I have discussed and haven't really discussed in the community a whole ton, haven't seen it discussed, is the ability to fudge these numbers, right?
yeah. So the local qualifiers are based on attendance.
Yep.
So our stores rather on a good day, if we get the whole community together every time, can hit the maximum number. On average, we are not we're about halfway to the maximum number, right? We're running 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players on average,
Yep.
which is fine. The downside though is how are we making sure that some stores aren't just pushing 17 players, always. How do you know there's not seven phantom accounts
Yeah.
at our store even? Like it's not a question of what like I'm not saying anyone is or would do this, but like the opportunity to do it is there and that's bad.
Yeah, 100%. Like there's several avenues that we can take this down, right? Edgar mentioned you can just add accounts or create accounts that join these regionals. You can even like if you want to get deep into this, right? Even if you're trying to avoid the ban hammer, if you're trying to avoid this looking weird, you can do this starting now, right?
Yeah.
You gave us these rules, these engagements. We know that we need 17 players to get max 6 SP at these events. So what is stopping me from creating 10 player accounts with very real names and joining local events starting today,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, oh man, we collected 3 new locals today. That's super cool, guys.
Yeah.
Oh man, 2 weeks from now we're gonna collect 5 more, and that's gonna be pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And then you have the other side of this avenue of what's stopping teams from selecting champions, right? As a lot of you know, Undefeated at Locals is not just me and Edgar. Undefeated at Locals is a whole team of people that are mainly here in Reno, Nevada with us. What is stopping me and Edgar, being the team leaders, from deciding, hey, X person has the best chance of taking down all of these events? X person has the best chance, that has the most time to go to every one of these major regionals. You have the most money to, and you have the best chance to. So you're just going to win them all, right?
Yeah.
The placement has already been decided. Nobody has to show up.
Yeah.
Come collect your prizing later. Brent wins, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like X person wins the event. And like Edgar said, I'm not saying that that will happen, but I kind of am saying that will
Yeah.
happen. These points do matter that much potentially.
Yeah.
We with people like Jose Naruto, Kevin Broberg, all of these sharks of the game are always like nipping at each other, right? Like they're always like one event away. They're 1 point away. So 1 point can very much matter
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. And just again, we want to close the opportunity for these things to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you just don't want to give yourselves the opportunity, right? Edgar himself has already come up with a great way to circumvent this of just making a max SP, right?
Yeah. And it's really like the only way to fix this would be say, okay, so you can only get 18 SP a season.
Yep.
You max out at 18. Any more than that, and it's moot, right? It kind of you would end up at the end of a season with a lot of people sitting at 18, and there would be a lot of ties. But like that's
Yeah,
just
100%. Yeah,
there's
that
no way to fix that.
no, absolutely not. You have to have something, right?
Hmm.
Something has to be in place to stop. A lot of these things will just be the opportunity, right? I'm
Yeah,
not saying that this will even be bad people doing bad things. I truly feel that this will be good people taking a moment of opportunity,
yeah.
right?
The guy that you hand a switch in your GameStop.
Yes, yeah, and he just decides, oh man, I don't have to buy this now.
Yeah,
Let me just walk away with it instead. Yeah, exactly. Especially since these are going to be these are going to be listed on our account. They've said, right?
yeah,
They're going to be listed on UGN. If this is the case and you don't change how your locals works, I hope to God that you do not make that public knowledge.
yeah,
I hope to God that I cannot look up Edgar and find out that you're 3 CP away from like ahead of me. Okay, cool. As one of the team leaders, Edgar's not playing
yeah.
today, right? Like
Oh yeah,
like
I go home today.
Yep,
Shit.
yeah, exactly. If we go through with this, I really hope that you make this hidden knowledge because that will just up the opportunity tenfold.
Yeah. That kind of covers all of the SPCP things. If you
Yeah,
have any questions about how it works still, let us know in the comments. We'll be sure to
join our Discord.
join our Discord. We've been
Tons of
talking
people are
about it.
talking
Yeah.
about it. Yeah, we've walked a lot of people through this already. Again, generally a positive thing as long as we think about we have time, thankfully, right? We
Hmm.
have time before the competitive season starts. I hope UVS Games watches all of these videos and actually takes this feedback and implements these changes. Going into the actual major regionals themselves, what format are we playing, Edgar?
I don't know. So they've said, and this has been a big thing, and I know a lot of the community's been talking about it. They started saying, yeah, we reserve the right to start doing mixed formats at our major events, and everyone was like, why would you do that? That sounds like a terrible idea. And then they did it.
Yeah,
Uh, so what they're doing now, this particular season, they are going to be doing a standard draft mixed format, which sounds okay enough on paper, but then you start breaking it down and you're like, how does this actually function? First of all, the biggest thing that we have here is um, we can't say draft is entirely skill based, right?
Yeah.
Draft
No, it
is
sure is not.
very, very, very luck based, and like your team has been your design team rather has been knocking it out of the park with card design lately. Like they've been doing a really good job, but they're not balancing for draft.
No, and they shouldn't be.
They and yeah, they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Draft has always just been a fun look at this funny thing I did.
Yeah,
Ha ha.
look at all of these cool new cards, right?
Yeah,
That is 100% what draft should remain is just look at these new cool new cards from the new set that we all get to play together.
yeah,
Not, hey, if I 2-0 you here, that's going to be pretty good for me, dude.
yeah, yeah. So we're looking at you play your first two rounds of constructed, you ace them both. You're feeling good. You go into draft. You draft Moonfish.
Yeah,
Uh,
yep.
and the next three rounds are draft, and you just are no longer playing the game.
Yep, yeah, there's certain situations and certain sets where it truly does feel like you should just fold, right?
Yeah,
Oh, just
Toga 2,
yep.
Kirishima 3.
Yeah,
There's so
absolutely.
many like all like and like given they're fun characters in constructed. You can do fun things with them. They don't exist in draft. You want Muscly, you want Ojiro, you want
Yeah.
you Hojo.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
If you in this set, if with the current rules, which is something that we're going to discuss here in a second, with the current rules in this set, if your first two characters are best genist, you now basically have to draft best genist,
yeah,
right? We do not get another opportunity. We do not get to wait till our fifth character and then pray that we draft enough of that symbol cards. You're basically on best genist, and in the current format, that is mostly considered just fold, right?
yeah, yeah.
Like,
You've lost your rounds, and
yeah,
good luck. Try again next time.
yep,
Um, which again is just in worlds, I think this is fine. Even in Nats, we've discussed kind of maybe in Nats this is fine because you are now looking at people at the top of the skill tree,
yeah,
right? Not
100%.
people fighting for their seat at the table.
Yeah, yep,
Um,
exactly, 100%. Once you've like made it to Nats, once you've gotten your invite, once you've made it to Worlds, once you've gotten your invite, then it can become like a real skill-based thing, right? I'm very much into that. But yeah, you should not have to fight through draft for a seat at the table.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
and that kind of brings us to the draft rules in particular,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They are very
Lacking?
lacking. Um, the the idea that in draft we like you said the first two characters you pull those are the characters you're likely going to be drafting for uh and maybe you luck out and get something good
Yeah.
um but like that's not always the case and then how many we had a rule right where if you draft a card that doesn't match any of your symbols you
Yeah, there's a rule where like there was some rule. It's inside the rules. We'll put it up for you on the screen. I'll find it after we're done editing this video. There's a rule where if you didn't draft enough, and I'm not even sure that it's that specific, right? There's a rule that you can take cards that weren't on symbol, you can flip them over to the UVS side of the card, and you can play that as a blank found 3-diff foundation with no block mod. That sounds not great, right?
yeah
That sounds like in certain cases we can like kind of cheat the system, right? Sure, we don't always like having a 3-diff non-block foundation is not a good thing, right? That's not something that you generally want to do.
hmm
But there are situations where now what if I do draft late, right?
yeah
What if I do find the character in my fourth pack and we're like, okay, let's just focus on attacks, right? I only need 14 attacks out of these next 5 packs to be on symbol with my character. And then whatever else I'm missing foundation wise, I'll just make blank, right?
yeah
Let's just blank this.
Yeah. So that's interesting, and we need that clarified. And that again, that's why the rules are lacking. And then on top of that, like, are we going to see a draft ban list? Because there are definitely some cards that in draft are just leagues better
Yeah,
than they
100%.
should be.
We've seen Muscular just absolutely decimate draft formats. Uh,
Ojiro,
Ojiro. there are several locals, including our own, that banned muscular from limited events.
Hmm.
If we're drafting that set, if we're sealing that set, nobody is allowed to play muscular. It's just
Yeah.
too much.
Muscular, Sir Night Eye,
Yeah,
and
yeah, absolutely. 40 cards mill you
Endeavor
out.
got close in this set. You
Yeah,
know.
for sure. For power level,
Hmm.
absolutely. Night Eye was the only one that kind of like shut him up, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so that brings us to the changes that we would like to see, right? First and foremost, we should absolutely 100% immediately, maybe not in the pre-release format, but in the tournament floor rules for draft, we should be going back to where we can choose our character after the draft period has
Yeah.
ended, right? We should open up our packs, we should draft our cards, and then choose our character and choose from any of the 100 and X characters out there or make it set specific, right?
Yeah.
I'm down for either, but we should be heading back to something like that.
Yeah.
Having to pick from your first two or three packs is a pain. Sure, again, skilled players, maybe even me and Edgar, there's been times where I've taken my fourth character
Yeah.
and built a deck around that, right? The casual player will not be able to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, most players won't be able to do that. And like again, it comes down to us. We memorize the set before it ever comes out. We know what we're
100%.
drafting
Yeah, we're
for.
content creators for
Yeah.
the card game, right? Yeah,
So we know the cards we're drafting before we ever draft them. A lot of players aren't going to do that, and that's why in Nats and Worlds, that's fine. You are looking at players who are doing that, right?
absolutely.
Everyone playing at Nats and Worlds, they should know every card.
Yep,
Maybe not, like I don't remember stopping for breakfast. I didn't remember that card forever, but like now I do. I
yep.
know most of the cards. I know what most of them say. And by the time I'm going to Worlds, whatever sets have come out by then that are legal, I'm going to know what those cards do by the time Worlds happens.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
So yeah, we definitely need to see a change in the draft rules. We need actual draft rules, right? And like it goes like a little bit deeper than this as well. Several people in the community, primarily Andrew, have brought up the fact that break for our sponsor, Ween over
yeah,
here, have brought up the fact that we can't currently practice draft, right?
yeah,
If we want to practice draft, I have to collect my entire team and tell them each to spend $30.
yeah, yeah. So that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. So like there's a lot of things that need to happen to make this viable. I get what they're going, right? They're going the Magic the Gathering route.
Hmm.
Magic the Gathering has figured out literally all of these problems,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
They don't have a we don't have a starting character in Magic that actually matters as much as ours do, right? We have our freaking planeswalker and they've made that very very draftable, and we do have a digital format where we can very easily practice the draft format, right?
yeah,
Draft is built into Magic Arena. That is something you can very, very easily go and do. So yeah, to make this like an actual real thing, UVS Games needs to make it a real thing.
yeah, yeah. And then on top of that, kind of going back to what we said before, the draft format kind of opens up the opportunity for dishonesty to happen.
Yes.
Um, in a lot of these games that do run draft, they have draft stamped cards. We don't have that. Uh, you're also drafting old sets, assuming like this first regional coming up is going to have a draft, and there's not any set coming out
Yeah.
when it's out, so
Yep.
everyone's going to have all the cards.
Yep.
Maybe two or three Falling Skies just happened to be in my draft kit if we were drafting Burning.
Yeah. 100%. Like presumably we'll be drafting Yu Yu Hakusho, which happens what, a month before the first regional.
Yeah, a
The first
month or
regional,
so.
yeah, yeah, like 30 days. Competitive players will have play sets, right? Like we'll
Hmm.
have play sets of these cards, and even Edgar mentioned before we started this video, even if you do draft stamped cards, you have to make it exclusive to this event, right? We
Yeah,
can't just release these as our pre-release kits as well. You would have to make it exclusive to these events. And I honestly don't believe that UVS Games will be able to pull that off. I
yeah,
don't think that they have enough time. I don't think that there's been that much thought put into this, right?
yeah,
I do not believe that this was more than a 30-minute meeting that decided the outcome of the competitive format. And I feel that you're going to really feel that in round two, like in your second draft draft round of this event, right?
Yeah, like it's super crazy that I just pulled 32 zero diff
Yeah,
foundations.
that's crazy that I have so many spams and
Hmm.
like, oh, bro, 90% of your deck is the Earth symbol. Yeah, I'm just the best at the card game,
Yeah,
man. I don't
yeah.
know what to tell you.
So, again, it's not like we're pointing people out. We're just saying that there's an opportunity for shenaniganery
Yeah,
here.
and it will happen, right?
Yeah.
We've seen it happen in this card game. No matter how good the community is, and the community is great. It
Mhm.
is so good for our card game. There is still bad apples out there, and once again, not even just bad apples, moments of opportunity, right?
Mhm.
I have so much writing on this event. I've top 16 both of the other regionals. I've decimated my locals. I get 2-0'd my first draft round. No, it's not going down like this.
Yeah.
I'm not losing because of draft.
Hmm.
So let's just build a different deck out of my collection.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's we don't want that. No one wants that. And
Yeah.
again, like we said at the beginning, no one really asked for this. So if UVS Games wants to push it, they need to look at these problems and come up with solutions.
Yeah, you just need a full rules page. We want this, I want an update to how we select our character, and most importantly, I want in for the first time ever, we've asked for this with several other things. You have to give us an exact time frame of how long we're allowed to take, right?
Yeah.
Are we spending an hour drafting and then an hour with deck construction? Are we spending an hour total, 30 minutes on each? And then how many seconds is the right amount of seconds for each pick, right?
Yeah, that was something I completely forgot to touch on with the with Nats just happening and us going several hours over the
2 days
timeline.
into
Yes,
Swiss.
yeah. Uh, where are we finding the time to draft decks in
Yeah,
the middle of the day? This is going to be a huge logistics issue for them because like we can't even get our players to report their game wins on time.
absolutely. And how are you verifying this, right?
Hmm.
How are you verifying that every player is, yes, I am done? You're looking at a room of 300 plus players, hopefully, since there's only, we have very few events, they should be bigger.
Yeah,
We'll touch up on that as well. You have potentially 300 players. How are you verifying? Is it a thing in my app? Am
yeah.
I selecting, yes, I'm done with that construction?
Hmm.
Like, what happens when you call the round after draft and you have the three people, hold up, I'm not done?
Yeah. Yeah, if one player, like it's your pod, you have one new player who's drafting really slow because new players draft slow. That's what
Absolutely.
happens.
That, yeah.
Are you going to DQ a new player for drafting slow? Is the whole pod getting DQ'd for not being able to finish on time?
Yeah, and why should I have to be the one that berates them, right?
Yeah,
Like, why do I have to look at this new player, potentially his first event? Hey, buddy, pick one and pass it. Let's
yeah.
go.
So again, logistically, this was the there was like you said, there was no thought that
Yeah.
went into this.
Nope.
Like,
I believe that this was like a 30-minute meeting and you guys just full sent it, like, regardless of repercussions. And the really shitty part is that you guys won't feel the repercussions. We will.
yeah,
We're going to pay for your event. I'm going to give you $50, $60 to go to Vegas. And then I will get screwed in the first round of draft when I realize that you guys have no idea what you're doing.
yeah, yeah. So that's basically everything we have on the tournaments and how they are functioning.
Yeah, constructed should go well. We're in the standard format now. That is official.
Yeah,
So we'll be able to use all of our cards. Very, very cool. That is something that is very positive.
yes.
Be able to construct out of your MHA, out of your Cowboy Bebop. Very, very cool. Heading into just the logistics of like the Worlds event, right? Um, you released the calendar, the webcam, the regionals, all of the LGS championships outside of the aforementioned the same weekend of the championship is a little rough. But Worlds being 3 weeks after Nats, how do we feel?
This so many players aren't going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
Um, Not even just on a how much money can I spend basis, and that's another topic that I forgot to mention, but how much money does it take you to travel to both of these places in 3 weeks? But how many people can get that much time off?
Off. Yeah, 100%.
Uh,
There's some players where this will quite literally be impossible.
yeah. So that's a huge oversight there.
Yeah,
Um,
like I feel that you guys heard us complain about Nats being like in October instead of November, right? And you heard the we're complaining about October part, but didn't hear the November part maybe, and
yeah,
you decided let's just group it all into January, February. Why not?
yeah,
Right.
yeah. So that the timing is terrible, and on top of that, like the structure for the events, we as North America get three whole regionals to go
Yes.
to.
Yep.
So does EU.
Yeah.
So does OCE. But
We have 500 players,
yeah,
and OC and EU might break 100 in their events, just maybe,
yeah.
if they're really popping off.
So the distribution of regionals and opportunities to win,
And slots and worlds
yeah,
is far skewed in the favor of the smaller play group.
yeah.
Like,
There, there,
bar none.
there's no reason for us to play in the NA events. We should just go to the EU.
100%. As like a major competitive player, if you have the opportunity, you should just be going to an OCE EU event
Yeah,
and be partaking in the 70-person event rather than the 500 player one.
yeah.
There's a world we always have had 16 slots, right? The NA has always basically had the 16 slots. EU OCE players guaranteed, doing the math, I believe it's guaranteed 6 additional slots, 6 additional players in worlds. Because of how it falls, there's a world where we still only have our 16. We have our if we have so this last year we'll have the champion of worlds, right?
Hmm.
He gets to go defend his title. We have the 3 regionals. We have the 5 players of our region,
Hmm.
and then we have the top 8 of nationals, leaving us 16 players minimum for us. But that might also be our maximum if the next, because it's the top 5 players from each region CP wise
Hmm.
will get in, and then the next 15 players. The next 15 players for us is 500. It's 15 out of 500. For you guys, it's 15 out of like 70.
Yeah, yeah. So distribution's really off here. Uh, and like I'm not saying we shouldn't give EU and OCE the opportunity to play.
100%.
We
This
say
is
make this bigger.
Yes, absolutely. This is not on EUOC at all. I love you guys. UVS Games has screwed you time and time again. You deserve your chance to shine. Why did we only double this?
Yeah,
Why is this not as big as Nats? Why is this not a 400 player event? And past that, as I mentioned before, we are a small card game. Why is it locked at all?
yeah,
Why aren't you just jamming every 500 players into the same room? Whoever can travel, come play
yeah.
Worlds. It's a 3-day event, Friday through Sunday, constructed on Friday, draft on Saturday, top cuts on Sunday, right? Let's
Hmm.
just run it. Like, that would be such a sick event for a smaller card game. I would worry about limiting it once you add a zero to that number, right?
Yeah,
You had 400 players at your nationals. A card game that does a similar thing that you're trying to do, Yu-Gi-Oh, had 4,000. That's 4,000 that they're limiting from Worlds. Of course, you
yeah.
don't want a 4,000 player Worlds event. You
Hmm.
certainly want a 3 to 400 player one, though.
Yeah, that is the average
Yeah,
for most events, and the we ran into a lot of fatigue because last season our regionals didn't matter
at
at
all.
all,
Yeah,
and now they
100%.
matter a ton, and we got three of them in the states that we can go to.
Yeah, absolutely. It
Um,
feels a little off-putting for sure.
yeah, the reason we weren't going to your regionals before UVS games was not because we didn't want to go, is because they weren't worth going to. That's
Yep.
just the brass tacks of it, right? Um, traveling to New York for a few promo cards.
Yeah, it was just not worth it.
Yeah,
Sean, owner of Rochester, mentioned in one of his posts that he had like a 72 player event. That's just not my problem. You had a 72 player event because UVS Games did not support you enough. They did not support their tournament enough to have a higher level event than that. You had 72 people because those people could all travel by car to your
Yeah,
store. Like that is why we traveled to Pasadena, right? Pasadena was only 85 players. I wouldn't have gone to that event if it was not I could just drive to
yeah,
it,
yeah.
right?
We went to Vegas. We went to Pasadena. You
Pasadena.
went to Kissimmee.
Yeah, I traveled to Florida. I traveled to your guys' first event, which was the reason that I did not travel to any of the rest of them.
Yeah.
That event what was just horrible. It was the start of the realization that all of their events were going to be the same. They were going to be just horribly done, horribly run events. Which brings us to our next point. Less events, right? We only have 3 in each region across the entire year, which actually could end up being a positive, right?
Hmm.
As long as they are bigger and better.
They have, yeah. You guys have to ball out, and that's why a lot of the community has been kind of antsy about not having any details about pricing, about side events, about what's going to be happening at these events and what they're going to get for going, because we went to again, harkening back to our Nats video, we went to Nats, we spent the money to go, and there
Walked
was,
away with nothing.
yeah.
Like your Swiss was done horribly wrong. We had a 2 day Swiss event. Even Swiss was not fun. Where in Florida, at least that was good, right? At least the tournament play itself was good. You guys found a way to make your Nats tournament play awful. Your side events were non-existent. So why do I trust you to make it different, right?
Hmm.
Like give us the pricing. We mentioned this at the beginning of the video. Want to touch up on it a little bit more. You should have announced pricing inside this article.
Yeah,
There was
pricing,
no reason
costs.
not to. You should
Yeah.
have announced every side event because you have lost every bit of trust with your community. You have next to zero now. So we have to go from zero back to 100 by April.
Yeah.
By April, you have to convince 300 players to travel to your event. And outside of Las Vegas, because it is literally our next door neighbor, you have not convinced me to travel to any of them.
Yeah, yeah. We're going to Vegas because it's a drive.
Yeah, yep,
Um,
it's super easy. It's no sweat off our back. It's very easy to do. And if it's great, I want to be there, right? If it's
mhm.
great, I want to be there. I love the community. I love talking to you guys. We're content creators for your card game. I want to be able to talk about that. If it's trash, I really want to be able to laugh at you.
Yeah. So, that's probably the best takeaway right now. Get the point system figured out because right now it is both way too influential and not influential enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh, get your draft rules figured out because currently, the idea of running draft in the middle of our regional Swiss sounds terrible. It sounds like we're going to be doing 2 days of Swiss again.
Yep, it sure does.
And also now I just have to deal with maybe drafting a moonfish. Um, and get the pricing and prices and all of that figured out and announced because without that, you're not going to convince anyone to travel more than a few hours away from home.
Nope, yeah, 100%. You will have 3 regionals this year that also netted 300 players and then 80 and then 50, right?
Yeah.
Like you're just going to see a significant drop if you mess this up again. And like again, this is there's a lot of positives in this article, but I do feel that you guys are probably on one of your last chances, right? Like you've honestly, as a company, been given more chances than most communities would ever give anyone ever. So, like, if you mess this up, like this could be your last shot at like an actual competitive event and making your card game big. We'll end on a positive note and like kind of loop this back into this. You Something crazy has happened in our community that even I did not expect. You announced Critical Role, the Clash decks. I truly didn't, or the Challenger series, sorry. I truly did not see the vision here, right? I'm a huge Critical Role fan, but I'm not in the Critical Role groups. That's not something that I generally join into. So I really did not see the popularity that this would bring. Your tweets average like 1,000 views, like a couple likes Your tweet as of today about Critical Role, the one that's been retweeted by the gamer, that's been retweeted by Critical Role themselves, has reached something like 125,000 views. My entire social media feed is just random people that have never played this card game sharing the picture of their favorite character. I've gotten 3 messages on Twitter by random people. Hey, I see you make content for this game. Do you know when this comes out? Like, that's crazy. And we need to be ready for these players, right?
Yeah.
Some of these people, even a tenth of them, if they want to play competitively, I so badly want to be able to tell them, yeah, it's sick. Our organized play is dope. Right now, I do not feel comfortable telling them that. I'm not going to be negative, but I'm going to tell them maybe wait a couple months.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Play the locals.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't bring up this mess.
Yeah, exactly. So fix it, fix the problems. You have a really, really good core here, right? The core to this organized play update is so good. Again, the point system is actually a really big positive for me. Uh, Even 3 regionals, I actually like that I don't have to travel to 9 of them at least,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like traveling to 3 and collecting SP, CP might actually be realistic if these events are good, right? If the events themselves are good, I might actually try to travel to all of them and can do so now. There's not freaking 13 of them.
Yeah, yeah,
That's sick as long as they're big.
yeah. As long as they're big and they're worth going to, get it done.
Yep, absolutely. Please comment with what you're thinking, even the positives, right? We want to hear the positives, we want to hear the negatives. Comment, join our Discord again, Undefeated at Locals. The link is below. Please join, come talk to the rest of the community. A bunch of us are popping off about the rules updates, and let us know which Challenger series you're looking excited for.
See you again next time. Peace.